Hello everyone, I'm Joel Haas, joined by Lyle Alenstein here inside of Lucas Oil Stadium, where Penn State just lost to Oregon 45-37 in the Big Ten championship game. A lot of points, a lot of action, a lot of storylines coming out of this one. Lyle, where do you want to take this one first?
Guess we'll start with the slow starts for the defense. Oregon got 3 straight touchdowns to start the game. There was no answers, quite frankly. There was no tackling. Tez Johnson obviously started the game really hot, but he finished the whole game, 11 catches, 181 yards and a touchdown. I believe he's the first wide receiver to win Big Ten championship game MVP.
And he got my vote. We got to vote for the MVP
well.
of the game. So.
Yeah, so he got my vote, got Joel's vote. But there was just slow start, was really bad. But even on top of the tackling, they were just Oregon was running all over him, throwing all over him. Dylan Gabriel was having his way. But on top of that, the defensive penalties to start the game. 4 first quarter personal fouls. I believe it was 2 face masks and 2 unnecessary roughnesses.
Yeah, and I think the face masks you can somewhat excuse because those are just going to happen sometimes when you're reaching for the ball carrier, and if you just happen to miss, it's not necessarily something that's on purpose. But when you have unnecessary roughness calls, that's something that kind of falls on discipline. Obviously something that Penn State would have liked to clean up. And, Oregon was driving, and I think they probably still scored touchdowns on the first 2 drives anyway, even without the penalties, just because of how good that offense looked and how well they were moving. Really in all phases with a bunch of different playmakers kind of stepping up. But regardless, obviously, you never want to have those kind of unforced errors like Penn State did earlier in the game.
Yeah, so those penalties were really costly. But then after Oregon ripped off 3 straight scores, Penn State got its first defensive stop of the game. I believe they had 10 points at the time, so they had an opportunity to go make it a 1-score game. And then Drew Allar looks for Khalil Dinkins, gets picked off, Oregon takes it to the 1-yard line. Jordan James comes in with a 1-yard score. All of a sudden, you've got a 2-score game, or maybe it was 3 scores at that point. But just opportunities for Penn State to come capitalize. And it looked like they were coming back at that point. I believe they scored on consecutive possessions after that. Kind of reminded me a lot of that 2016 Penn State Big Ten championship game when they were down to Wisconsin, obviously, and then Trace McSorley threw that touchdown pass to C. Blacknall, and that kind of sparked the comeback. So we saw Drew Allar throw that touchdown pass to Amari Evans for 22 yards, and it was, they were kind of moving and grooving towards the end of the half. They had a nice defensive stop at the end that hold Oregon to a field goal. I think it was 31-24 at the end of the half. 55 points. It broke the Big Ten championship game record for most points scored in the first half. So there was some life. But just when Penn State, you thought they were coming back, there was the little things, the penalties, misreads. But they battled. But just, they didn't have enough today.
Yeah, I think you said it well, because I would describe this game as kind of a back and forth game, and not in the sense of like lead changes, because Oregon led this one from start to finish, but it was back and forth in the sense of, oh, this is going to be a blowout. Oh, wait, no, Penn State's going to make it a game. Oh, wait, no, it's back to being a blowout. Oh, wait, no, Penn State's kind of coming back. And it was like, I never truly felt like Penn State was going to battle its way all the way back into this game, even when it was a 1-score game at times throughout the second half, and obviously it finished as a 1-score game as well. And Penn State even had a chance with 2 minutes left in the game where it was driving down the field before Allar threw his second interception of the game, which was a great acrobatic play by the Oregon defensive back to haul that one in, almost mossed Harrison Wallace, who was the intended target on the throw. But 2 interceptions for Allar. It's kind of hard for me to blame him on either of them. I think the first one to Khalil Dinkins, I feel like Dinkins was being held on that play, which kind of resulted in the pick, at least in my eyes. And then the second one was kind of a 50-50 ball down the sideline that ended up getting picked off. Overall, Allar completion percentage was low. I think he finished 20 for 39, but he did have a ton of yards today. I thought the run game for Penn State was looking really good. Nick and Katron both appeared to be running the ball well. I think they both finished with over 7 yards per carry, and then every once in a while you would have, an Allar run sprinkled in or something like that. Maybe Bo Prabula or Tyler Warren for a play. But regardless, I thought the run game looked really good. I thought they should have fed them more. To be quite honest, I thought Nick Singleton probably should have gotten the ball more. And, obviously you have to worry about potentially him getting tired and things like that, where, we don't know, necessarily what the situation was. Maybe he had to come out because he was just gassed or something like that. But, if I'm Penn State, I want to get him the ball more because he was certainly hot tonight. Tyler Warren started off pretty hot tonight as well. Kind of faded in the second half.
I did have a drop though, actually, so.
He had a couple that he almost hauled in. I thought that, didn't necessarily pull in, but did have some catches today. But most of Warren's production came in the first half. A lot of it kind of got minimized there in the second half. What else? Defensively for Penn State, obviously a pretty poor showing. I mean, when you surrender, 45 points like they did today, it's the most they've given up since the Rose Bowl against USC in 2017, the end of the 2016 season. They gave up 52 to the Trojans that day, in obviously a pretty historic game, pretty memorable game, I should say. But you have to go, all the way back to then. So something about those West Coast offenses just seemed to get to Penn State. But
I think Tom Allen is going to be getting a lot of criticism, and already has. And, those fire Tom Allen things coming his way after this one. And I feel like I see the frustration, considering that you've had this top-ranked defense all year. You shut down a high-powered offense like Ohio State. And you but this is Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson lit up the Penn State defense. But if you look at this game, obviously Jordan James had some success on the ground, but Penn State lost to Tez Johnson, and nobody in the secondary could stop him. It wasn't happening. AJ Harris, Jalen Kimber, Elliot Washington, whoever you wanted, he was making them miss. This kid is super elusive. Made Zachy Wheatley just whiff.
And Zachy has been one of the best tacklers. Yeah, obviously, he very rarely.
Obviously, KJ Winston's been out this whole year. Last year he didn't miss a tackle once, and you can argue this is where you really miss him. But it's not a knack on Zachy Wheatley and Jalen Reed, but just no one in the secondary can stop him. But you take him away. Obviously, this is a giant hypothetical because you could make that argument on Penn State's side. But I feel like Tom Allen's just going to get a lot of criticism for this that I don't really think should go his way.
Yeah. I mean, it was, obviously Penn State surrendered a lot of points, but I came away from this one more impressed with Oregon's offense than anything. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, obviously a very savvy sixth-year veteran quarterback who's been around, won a lot of big games, things like that, and just a great player overall. I mean, he's not going to win, but he was in the Heisman consideration, at least for a while there. Put up some really big stats. He was the Big Ten quarterback of the year. Then he's got some great wide receivers, whether it's, Tez or some of the other guys, tight ends as well, getting involved with 3 touchdowns today. And then even the running game, Jordan James with, a solid day on the ground as well, although I think Oregon obviously relied a little bit more heavily on the pass. I was interested to see after the game that Penn State had more total yards than Oregon. I think part of that goes back to the 2 interceptions that Drew threw that kind of killed those drives. And then you could argue that, some of Oregon's yardage came through penalties, so that didn't necessarily get reflected in the team's total yardage. But I did think it was interesting to see that, these 2 teams kind of went toe-to-toe. I mean, the offenses were just trading punches back and forth. Obviously, Oregon got off to a better start and then were able to kind of maintain that lead throughout the game. But I mean, if these 2 teams were to play again tomorrow, suit up again, same exact situation, neutral site, we might end up seeing a different result. Obviously, you never know. But I felt like Penn State hung in there, played a really close game, played really tight with Oregon. So, if you're looking for the silver lining, which, obviously that's kind of a consolidation prize, but if you're looking for the silver lining here, Penn State pretty much went toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country that is now 13-0, going to lock up the number 1 seed in the playoffs tomorrow on Selection Sunday, or today, depending on when you're watching this. But Lyle, any closing thoughts?
I mean, you talked about the silver lining for Penn State's fans, but if Penn State fans want an excuse, the officiating today, I'm not one to, make comments about the officiating, but today was not great. A lot of, obviously, Abdul Carter gets talked about all the time for getting held. That's just custom to
a given
at this point, but it was really bad today. And it wasn't just Abdul, the defensive tackles. There was a really bad one on Deny. Just a bunch of missed calls like that. I honestly thought that interception late in the game that Drew threw, the second one that sealed the deal for Oregon, could you maybe argue that was defensive holding. There was an incomplete pass, or there was a complete pass that was ruled incomplete to completely blanking who it was right now.
I think it was Omari.
Yeah, I think it was Omari. That, you can't be missing those calls. Obviously, might have made a difference, might not have. But there's a couple crucial moments where you have, the ability to make the right call and it wasn't made today. So just, that's also something to look at. This was also the same head official that Penn State had in the Ohio State game earlier this year.
Which obviously had some calls go against Penn State.
So that's something to look at.
Yeah, we're not big into conspiracy theories, but but it seems to be a little bit of a trend there. But regardless, Penn State falls to Oregon, misses out on an opportunity to, win the Big Ten championship. But obviously Penn State heading into this game was kind of playing with house money, not really expecting to be here. With a loss, they're probably still hosting a playoff game. They might get bumped down a little bit. I don't expect them to get bumped down too far, maybe one spot at most, I would think, just because of how close they played against Oregon, and the committee has kind of taken a stance on this already and previously talked about not wanting to punish teams who lose in the conference championship game, compared to teams that didn't even make it to the conference championship game. So we'll see what they do. Obviously it'll be interesting to see what happens when the final bracket gets revealed, but regardless, Penn State falls short in a big game once again. Kind of sounds like a broken record at this point, but again, looking back through it, I think it happened in a little bit of a different way than maybe some of those previous games.
James Franklin did not lose this game.
Yes, this one you cannot. I mean, you could talk about the 2-point conversion that was failed, but it's.
But if he makes it, he's a genius, just like that fake punt against Minnesota. So
yeah, no, I wouldn't put any of the blame on him for this one. I think maybe if you want to blame some of the defense, maybe some on Tom Allen, you could potentially do that. Obviously, Oregon a very great great offense, so very hard to stop. And Penn State's offense obviously doesn't get any of the blame. Or shouldn't get any of the blame because, it was the most points. 37 was the most points Oregon's allowed all year. And, Oregon played Ohio State previously and, held them to a lot fewer points. And so pretty good showing from Penn State, but, obviously weren't able to get it done. Defense at times made some mistakes, left some guys open. Tez Johnson obviously had a monster game. But, yeah, again, like you said, I don't think any of the blame really falls on Franklin for this one. So the Fire Franklin crowd, put the pitchforks away for at least a couple more weeks here.
Good.
But I think that's all of our thoughts here. So we'll be back with you guys for Penn State's next game, whenever that may be, and against whoever that may be against. But that's all of our thoughts for this episode. So if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.